be obtuse about it. There's a grief for adoption. Because I remember the moment they were terminating her parental rights, I was on call. I went to every court session, even though I wasn't supposed to be there. I was a strong advocate. I wrote the reports, I sent the pictures, I did everything. So all of my skills as a connector, as a community builder, I brought into it to make sure I was advocating strongly for her. And also, as a Nigerian, knowing that blood is thicker than water, a part of me was rooting for her birth mom to be able to get her. Also, a part of me was wanting, for her to stay. So, having to understand that you can have two truths, and and it's okay to have those two parts because rooting for her mom to get her meant that she was going to be wholesome and clean and all that kind of fancy stuff. But you also want her to stay because you fall in love with this child. She's part of a family. She calls you mom already, and I mean, the first time she called me mom, I was like, wait, you're not supposed to do that. Like, this is not part of the contract. But a child doesn't understand that, they're here temporarily. But she's changed me in so many ways because I struggled a lot. I struggled with just the motherhood part of it. And because it was supposed to be temporary. But my heart is so large, like, you can't be temporary. I even made it in my mind that if this girl has to go, even though my anxiety was just all over the place, she's always going to have a space in our heart and in our home because there's no way it can just be touch and go. But now that she's here, I mean, she makes me thank God every day that what are the odds that of all the houses in Oklahoma, God will choose her for us, right? And so when people say she's lucky, I'm like, no, you have no idea. I'm the lucky person. I mean, look at her. She's so full of life. She's so patient. She's so loving. And I'm like, people want to call me Ari's mom. Like, I thought I was popular, but Ari is popular. Like, yeah, I'm Ari's mom. And I wear that badge so proudly. And, so if she ever gets to listen to it, I hope she always remembers that, she's loved. Everyone, I mean, even her bed parents, despite not being able to fight for her, there's some form of love that you're giving your child away. Because when we were reading those rights out and the judge was saying the rights were, I broke down as a mom because I'm like, you're telling me that someone that popped out a child, someone can just pronounce it and break that bond. It just did something to me and it broke me down. But you know what? I think at the end of the day, everything works together for our good.
Yeah.
And even though there's still some grief there, especially personal grief, because the more you're loving on this child, your trauma still comes up as not being able to birth your own child biologically. But I'm able to have those two truths going. I'll keep loving her. There's no doubt about that. Like she's like that. Like she's the light of my world. She's one of the reasons why I just want to be a better person and keep finding ways to make the world a better person. I also want to show her the importance of community building, and family is a broad concept. Like bring healthy people around her to show her just the diversity we have in our community. So yeah, she's changed my life, and I thank God every day I see her because yeah, I mean it's not it hasn't taken the pain away, but it's added much more light to my life, and I'm very thankful to God for that.
Thank you.
Oh, that's deep. That's really
In
deep.
fact, I feel like this is a story for the ages because I've always I've known you. I met you in
2017.
Yeah, 1817. And I just, like you said, like there was just something about you. I was just like, me and this sister were friends for like,
I can say that about you too.
I know. So now, hearing the story, like I feel like there are so many people in my life around me that encourage me, that just let me know that hard choices, right, can be made, like you said, and still be okay. Like it can be hard, but we can do it. And so, I mean, I really, really, I'm so proud of you both. I cannot just say it enough. And I feel like you've shown people what's possible, right? And I think that it even makes it even more interesting when you're telling us that she's white, right? The child is white.
She's but I mean, typically she looks white.
White, okay.
Yeah, but she's mixed. She's half white and half black. Yeah.
Okay, so you can imagine, like, normally we're used to the other dynamic, right? So this, to me, I feel like this is just, a case that was meant to be. That's the way I'll put it. Yeah.
Because you have no choice to choose the children that come into your home. We fostered black kids, we fostered Hispanics, we fostered, white kids. So
yeah,
it's a roll of a die. But
yeah, I think it's interesting, like you said, the dynamic where you'd expect a typical white person adopting the black person, like they're saving left.
But now you guys are like black saviors.
The roles are reversed.
The roles are reversed.
Find it hard to wrap their head around it, especially when you see three of us together. You're like, Okay.
So by nature of his job, when we have like events, he might not be able to make it because
Yeah.
So for the longest time, when they'll see me and her, they probably think my husband is white. By the time he shows up, I'm like,
Like, what's up here?
Like, what's going
yep,
on?
I got
Like,
a story to
what's
tell.
Even when we went to Nigeria at my dad's, my parents' wedding anniversary
Yeah.
before he passed, someone was like, that where's the mother?
But at the point when they saw, I said, "Oh, yeah, this guy is Yoruba. This guy is Nigeria." Because when she was eating and just behaving,
And
eating with her
everything.
hand, eating her bag, and all, I was like, "This guy, she's suspiciously Nigerian." Yeah. But I also want to say I want to thank him, especially. Just let me add this quickly for wives who might be in my position, where you have this dream in you, and it's a God-given dream, but maybe your husband is not still on page with it. Don't fight it with him. Take it to God, right? And be patient. Like, it took 2 years. As a matter of fact, whenever he said, let's do it, I thought he was just pulling my leg. I even said, I'm not even doing it anymore. He reminded me, let's go start the paperwork. He kept pursuing it. At the point, I'm like, do you have a hidden agenda somewhere?
Oh, I didn't tell you.
I want to thank him. I want to thank him so much. Like, it's one thing to be consumed with grief and knowing that even though I'm not comfortable with this, let me help my wife. Let me lay aside my discomfort and give her something that she would want. I mean, that says a lot about someone. And though he said fostering was his hard role, but then he made that adoption happen. Because without him, we wouldn't have had Arife. So I want to thank him so much for that.
Thank you, Taiwo.
I want to thank
him too. I mean, you've talked so much about, community. I feel like, tell us how you're managing to nurture a thriving community, because I see your community, and that's another area where I feel like, I'm learning from you, right? To build a diverse community.
You're talking. Yeah, like the Boga community. I'm still learning work from you. Well, maybe I should let you. You want me to answer it or you answer it?
Yeah, the community builder.
You know what? I'm the loud mouth of the family, but I have a lot of support. So I talked about growing up interrupted and having abuse as a child. And the older I get, the more I realize that what has been my saving grace has been the encounters I've had with wholesome people. So we need people. People will break our hearts, but people will feel that. So we still need that relationship. I think it's very, very vital to not exclude ourselves from that. Because even as a mom now, my mind goes into many directions as to how do I keep my child safe from predators. But the Holy Spirit was mentioned to me just last week, like, what happened to you was bad, yeah, but think about just how the course of your life has shifted. You could have gone one bad way or the other. For every right, I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be, well put together like this because, really bad stuff happened to me as a kid. But I should also talk about the individuals who I've met, who were wholesome, who provided some form of mentoring for me. So I'm less preoccupied about just trying to be, taking upon myself to protect her. At the end of the day, we're not going to put her in harm's way. But God at the end of the day won't protect her. But what can we do is, give her that community. And I think even though I talked about the US being an anti-family space, I thank them because it made my parenting game, top notch. You have to be intentional. This is a child I'm trying to teach Yoruba and Korean at the same time. I'm also trying to teach her just, people come in different, sizes and shapes. And you can have, GGs or pops, like grandparents in different zip codes. You have fun because I don't think as parents was sufficient enough to teach our kids, everything. I see parenting as a buffet. I can bring my own potluck. I bring my own plate to the table, and no one brings their own plate. But by the time we spread the table, we have a diverse, selection of food and nutrients like feed on ourselves. And so we've had to be very intentional. It's a natural superpower for me. I'm not gonna say it's easy because it requires time. And I'm not someone that likes to be a cookie crumble snatcher. Like, you just take from people and you don't give back. I'm very intentional in people that I want to build community with. And even though it takes time, I've been burned so many times. But guess what? At the core of it, I love people. I love to do life together with people. And I refuse to do life alone. So for that, it's just, finding the right people. Our church community has been very good. And we have, our daughter has like, Gigi and Pops, they are her godparents. They spent time with her. Today, they went swimming together. So having to create time for her to understand that mom and dad will love you, but we can't be everything to you. So let's surround you with wholesome adults. On her adoption day, for example, our lawyer had to get a separate Zoom link, which hadn't been done historically. even my advisor from grad school was like, there were like 50 million people on the Zoom link from all over the world to wish, Arife on the day we're having her court meeting. The judge even had them on mute and introduce themselves. So that for me is the foundation, is the legacy I'd like to leave her, that you cannot do life alone. Find yourself with people who would remind you of the goodness of God. Because as Christians, we're stronger together, not by ourselves, right? So yeah, it's just finding the right people. And I think the intentionality behind it, being genuine, and the vulnerability. When I mess up, I want to say I'm sorry. I want to be, the first to apologize. And I want to be there for the people I build community with. And I know that I'm not doing it because I want to get something back. It's just what I like to do. So yeah, it's not been easy balancing time and also making sure that you're balancing that safety. You can't expose your child to everybody. You can have good adult friends, but they might not be kid friendly. So yeah, but so far so good. And yeah, and I have the backing of Mr. He's a very careful person. Yeah, but yeah.
I can see him already. These are the ones that won't say anything,
but they run deep.
Yeah.
Like shallow ones like us.
Once they just say no, you just know. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, you don't even have to ask too much. And it's almost always right.
Yeah,
it's almost always right. Yeah.
So, Taiwo, I can see in deep reflection. Is there something you want to add here?
No, I think we have a really good community that we surround ourselves with. We got, even at the gym, we have pickleball community. They all know Ari.
They love her.
They love her.
Yeah.
And then in church, she's got Gigi and Pops, her godparents. And then, we have many other friends that get to know her, both in state and out of state too.
We have actually an Indian friend who helps babysit.
Korean ones, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we're selecting countries, but
United Nations.
Even a global perspective, yeah. So
United Nations.
And she's a very curious child. She likes to learn. So I know she's gonna be very blessed in that area. Yeah.
I do want to. I mean, I do want to use this as a follow-up question for you guys. So now, like, right now, media news so toxic. I'm not gonna bring up Oklahoma. Recently, I'm not gonna bring that up. So it doesn't date this recording, but I'm just wondering, what would you say to people that have reached out, or rather tried to reach out in community and felt their hand shoved out, and just pushed back inside? What advice would you have for them, as in to get back up, or when is enough, as it were?
Yeah, and what part of the reason is because of the thing you said, that people will harm you, but people will also heal you.
Yeah.
That was deep. So deep, because that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Because you see the world now. Everybody's toxic. Everybody's a narcissist.
I hate that word, by the way. The trigger word for me, toxic and narcissist.
And you're like, okay, who's left in that sense? So, but what that does is that it makes people not reach out. They're even more afraid to reach out. So I guess what would be something that you would say? Because honestly, when I say admire you, I'm not kidding, because I see your Korean, your Indian, I see like the United Nations in your place. And I'm thinking, and this is in Oklahoma, like that's always what comes to my mind. Like, so what excuse do we who live in so, more diverse places, what excuse do we have, apart from the fact that the other persons are not reciprocating, right? In that, to the degree that you would love them to. So I guess what advice would you give, or what words would you tell us? Strategy. We need strategy now, not empathy.
I see what you did there.
Well, I can give you one.
Okay.
Go learn Korean.
That's a good one. Okay.
Because since she learned Korean, she's been oh my God, going after, looking. She's always been a part of Chi Alpha, right? So with Chi Alpha, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chi Alpha. It's kind of like a Christian organization on campus.
We get involved in international students, pick them up from the airports, host them. They don't live with us, but we serve as their protective parents in the US. Or maybe I don't know what the right word, but we kind of like host them so they know they can come here for holidays and we can take them shopping. We can do life with them.
Yeah, and this also was birthed from, when we first moved to the United States in Austin. We stayed with Mr. Adebo and his wife.
Yeah.
They were Nigerian, a couple that, showed us love, housed us. They were even our counselors when we were going through the initial phases of our marriage and everything, when we first got married, so they were open to international students. They will host them during Thanksgiving and take us to church, drop us off. They were very, very instrumental.
Yeah.
So we saw what they were doing, and it just by default, mostly her, she felt like we needed to keep doing that. And then, the Korean community also, naturally, she got attracted to that community because she could speak the language fluently. So, and they too, when they see a Black person speaking Korean, they're like shocked, and so I think that kind of draws people too. So
yeah, I mean, Korean aside, I think love has no borders, right? And the people that we've seen, that we've been able to do life together with, are people also yearning for the same thing we want. To have friends, you have to be a friend to someone. And sometimes they can love digging, because relationships here can be quite transactional. And I guess because there's just so much capitalism, that's just the downside. Capitalism has its good side.
Yeah.
But the downside is that everything is monetized, pay me to do this and I'll pay you back. But again, really it's just going out there and be vulnerable. I'm not saying you should tell everybody your story at once, but be vulnerable. Even if temple will break your heart, that one person that will heal your heart is what, the heartbreak you're going to. And when you're not seeing your heartbreak, just do the therapy and all that kind of stuff. But it's worth it, because imagine doing life alone. Man, I'm Nigerian. All those interactions you have, even as an intro, if you are introverted in Nigeria, you miss it here. You don't see your neighbors. You get into a car, into the garage, you come out. I hardly see my neighbors unless I text them. So those interactions, you don't talk today, how far? All those things that way, all those little conversations. You have no idea how they impact your mental health until you move to this country.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. It's intense. You build the time, you create that time to make it happen. We host dinners, we cook for friends, we play. We don't even do that as much since COVID. We used to do game nights, travel with some of our friends. So it's just one step at a time, and say what you want. And sometimes we've had to also teach them our culture, right? And we've had amazing people, because again, it's not like we're the ones always teaching. We've also had to learn. So it's like an exchange, a cultural exchange. You teach me your ways, I'll teach you my ways. So don't think that the onus is always on you as the foreigner. No,
teach them.
They should teach you as well. And so don't take that responsibility on, especially in Oklahoma. If you're living in Oklahoma, the default there is always going to be the teacher. Don't do that. Switch out the role. Today I'm teaching, tomorrow you're teaching.
Yeah.
I'm off on Wednesdays. You take, Wednesday I take Thursday, so that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's what it. Community is what it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess, let me tell you, I've already heard it. I've heard it like threading through, right? All of the conversation. And the last question we're going to have is going to be one on values, right?
Yeah.
So what values
have kept you guys and sustained you guys through the years of working together as one? I mean, what values would you espouse? And
what are the one word values you give us?
I know yours.
What?
He said something that really blew my mind. Together we win or lose. Yeah. I'll tell you that the first year of marriage, when he would say I chose you, I'm like, Shirley, like don't say that you adopted from the pound. Like that word should trigger me. Again, I've had a lot of work. That was BC, before Christ. But I would say, I think I don't even know how maybe you should even ask him, like his concept of marriage, like he got it right on. It took me a lot to catch up with him. He just got it right on, like I choose to love you. But the first few years of when he would say that, I'll be like, hey, you would choose, I'll make you this choice I'm making, I'll make it very hard for you. So all the dramatic things will come out, but I'll say that just knowing that together you win or lose, I think that was just the defining factor for me. And it's someone that, I think his faith also, plays a role. We've lived apart for 3 years when he was doing his residency, and I've never had to worry about him straying away. Because I know he's not doing it because of me. Our faith is that common anchor. Like, your God is first and then your spouse next. So there's that order of chain of command, right? So I think our faith and knowing that together you're one. When your spouse is in their best self, you're not your best self. And we're both invested in each other, right? Even though there's been some issues with communication and we've had some bumps, my mental health with the losses we had in the past, I know he's someone that's always in my corner, like always in my corner. And the older I get, the more appreciative and humble that I am as just how steadfast he's been. If the roles were reversed, I don't think this relationship would have lasted long. Because he held on to me, especially during those hard times. Like, he was like, no, I chose you, like, you are the one for me. And I was like, how, especially, I mean, I remember when I said, maybe just go marry somebody else. It's when I realized that he wanted kids and I couldn't give it to him. And I think I even broke his heart that I would, think about that kind of thing. But this was just my right side brain just saying, this is the solution to your problem. Here's an exit, just, jump off the window and bye, no hard feelings. So yeah, his values are just based on our faith and knowing that your spouse is just a reflection of you. So when they're weak, you're equally weak, no matter how shining you are, and you don't leave them behind. You give them that space to grow. You give them that, even though you know that they're not living their best life. Like, there's time I just let myself go, body-wise, because I was grieving a lot. And those were hard times for him because he's been always very disciplined with his body and those kind of things. But he understanding that it's not just the body thing for more, it's mental as well. It's, her womanhood being, questioned and not being able to conceive naturally and those kind of things. And the patience to give them the space to grow into where they need to be. And he's been very supportive. Maybe he hasn't always said the right things, but I know at the core of it, his heart is, his heart is true, and he genuinely loves. And yeah, so I just spoke for him. So
I know, but I'm gonna hear from him. It's like, what else? But that's.
I mean, she just asked what are the values that have kept you, and she goes on this whole rant.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
That was your question. But it was a good answer.
Yeah.
So I think, and she touched on some of this already, but I'll just say it may sound cliche, but faith, hope, love, greatest of this is love, right? Or is that how it says? Yeah. So
something like that.
Something like that.
But
so choosing,
the what?
I said the choosing. Let's ask you about that.
Yeah, what about that?
Like when you're saying in terms of the choosing and the
choosing one.
Right?
Choosing. The Lord's chosen.
The Lord's chosen and she's your chosen. But yeah, I mean, I heard it already. I just wanted to kind of, because sometimes we don't realize what our values are, even though we're living it out until someone asks you, then you are now articulating it. So I kind of heard it all through, your conversation. But I think I wanted you to kind of tie it with a bow, right? In the sense that for the men listening, right, what the things that sustained you through these years, because you people are sitting here talking about this. These are things that have scattered, like she said, scattered relationships, just why we even here,
marriages,
because these are things that people never envisaged, ever. Nobody ever goes into a marriage thinking that they wouldn't, have children if they wanted, right? Because I know not everyone necessarily might want children, but for people who desired it and it didn't happen, like she said, every year, every loss, every that, what were the things that you were thinking? Like what was making you just stand day by day by day, right?
Yeah, I guess, I'm the kind of person that if I get beat down, I don't stay down. I keep going. You keep just having that hope, right? Remember I said faith, hope, and love, right?
Yeah.
So, just faith, hope. just kept pushing me on, let's keep trying. Or in my back of my mind, I'm like, okay, okay, we'll keep trying. If it doesn't work, and then we'll get a green card, and we foster. That was what was on the back of my mind. So, but I think everything just comes down to our foundation. I think we had a really strong foundation to begin with. And I think she was my friend, or she is my friend. Apart from my twin brother, my first, best friend, he kind of took his place, but she knows what I mean.
Yeah, we understand the twin bond.
Yeah, but I think that's really helped keep us. But yeah, along the line, many things have happened that really shook us, even recently, but with the help of godly counsel, and we were able to weather that storm, and we're stronger for it.
All right.
This has been the most insightful, I mean, with a C, right? CITE, like just, yeah, just slicing through the truths, just slicing through them, and ninja, just where do you want it to land? We'll put it wherever, and I love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
thank you so much.
Especially your vulnerability and your transparency, because knowing our culture, where we're from, a lot of things you said here, people probably would be, even if you've gone past that hump, you still don't want to let people know how difficult it was to get to where you were. But then it's all to the glory of God, because I see your faith here coming in and your trust in God, So thanks for just sharing, and letting others know that, listen, it's always messy in the middle.
But and sometimes we're right in the middle, right? I feel like that's the part we sometimes miss, that we're saying messy middle as though the middle is behind us. Meanwhile, right in that, space. So thank you so much. Questions for us?
Do you have any question for us?
Every time I ask this question, I always
oh my gosh.
So how long have you guys been married?
15 years this year. I know. Wow.
All right. That's like 2,000 years in Hollywood metric.
Yep. 15 years.
But we knew for
12 years before that. Yeah, we're probably like the longest dating couple we know.
So you dated for 12 years?
Hey, wait.
Wow. People were doing Lord of the Rings.
No, there was
a break.
A break. There was an international break.
I remember the break. I remember from your book.
4 years. 4 years, 4.5 years. So yeah, let's not forget that is part of
I would probably ask you something no one has did ask you guys, but I'm curious to know what your conflict resolution processes are like when it comes to how do you guys resolve conflict?
Oh my God, we just went through one.
Yeah.
The wife is always right?
No. You'll be well trained.
For the most part.
There was some sarcasm in there.
For the most part, about, I'll say 80% of the time. But what we normally do is that we have somebody will send a text, and by somebody, I'm being very, very specific.
Want somebody
who must not be named.
To kind of tabulate, okay, these are the issues, I need some process time to try and get synchronized, and then we now come back to the issues at hand, and then we now try and do a deep dive emotionally. This is when you did this. This is what I felt, and this is the impression I got. And then, but yeah, it's funny. We just had a recent because we thought we had passed that road, and then another bump comes in, to throw us off
and the bump, I'll tell you again, is that people just reverted back to their usual styles, because the style was turtle, and what's that thing they say, the tortoise the turtle
the shell,
the shell, and then the sulker, right? The tortoise is not even seeing that the other person is the sulker, so you can imagine who might be the turtle and who might be the sulker.
We'll leave that in the air, literally.
So, but it was a situation of if you wanted to talk about something and the turtle is in their shell, that thing is never going to be talked about. And I resolve things through talking. Like I process through talking, you know. It took him a while to get this, but after he got it, he's like, okay, let's talk about it so that we can get over to the other
side.
But it just happened, like we're saying, that this past incident, right, was, I don't know, just something really small, but everyone just went back to their, old ways.
Usual default style,
And so after about, I'll tell you, the funny thing is that there was nothing. We were still, the children could not have told you that anything was wrong in this house, but we knew that there was something, that we needed to resolve. So after about a week, that's how long it was, I said, Nna, come here. Like,
let's talk.
Ready to talk about this, because even though I had said, if you don't ever want to talk about it, I'm okay, but I was like, that is not true. I'm not okay. I need to talk about this. So, I was like, do you want to talk about it? No. Next day, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, that thing you said, I'm like, I'm ready. I was born ready. Let's talk about it. So those are the kinds of things, but that's typically it. And we always, I feel like sometimes we look at ourselves and we laugh, like, because after that whole thing, I get to work, I'm like, thank you so much for, talking about this and your time and explaining and all that. But I always do that because I have at the back of my mind that the person is not beholden to you. They don't have to sit with you. They don't have to talk about this. They don't have to do anything, literally, in that sense. So I'm always coming with that, as they say, attitude of gratitude. They say, I appreciate that you take the time to want to resolve this. I don't take it for granted, right? I feel like if you ask us anything, that's the secret sauce of not taking anything for granted.
Thank you for mentioning that, especially the part about knowing that you have your default style of conflict resolution, but understanding that this person is speaking a language that, even though I don't have the currency, I can give them space to express themselves. And I think, that's something we can definitely work on, because I like to talk, and I know for him to keep the peace, he just wants to, like, let's not talk about it now, I don't want to talk about it. So it might seem like he's avoiding, but for me, it's like, let's just talk, because it's in my head, it's like, I can't even think of anything else. I'm already judging you, like, I'm about to do over, like, let's talk. But it's like, I don't want her to talk, because she's going to go crazy and flip out, so I'm going to wait. But I'm like, I want to talk. But knowing that we can grow through that, I think that's something very...
We certainly can, because I always say I have an overactive amygdala or whatever it is.
Similar, we're very similar.
I'm telling you. So for me, talking is just help me process.
I'm a process, yes, external processor. Yeah.
So thanks so much for tuning in from our couch to your couch. Hope you got loads of information from this, and just being vulnerable and trusting each other. I like that thing that she had said, that win or lose, we're in it together. That's not how you said it, right?
You win or lose
together.
We win or lose. That's how I'm going to end this.
Yes, that was word.
We win or lose together.
Yeah.
Lose together. So bye for now.